The message came at 3 in the morning, ship time. Dr. Lisa Grant woke to red lights flashing in her lab aboard the Coalition research station. Her hands shook as she read the transmission from the outer rim worlds. 3 entire planets had gone silent. No communications. No life signs, nothing. Lisa ran through the corridors to the command center. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the main display, his weathered face grim. The human was older than most Coalition representatives, with gray hair and scars from wars that other species preferred not to discuss. Earth had been part of the Coalition for only 10 years, and many still questioned whether humans belonged among peaceful civilizations. "What do we know?" Lisa asked, catching her breath. Morrison pointed to the star map. 3 red dots marked the dead worlds. Kepler 7 went dark first. Then Vega Station. New Centauri was last. Each one stopped transmitting exactly 72 hours after the previous one. Captain Ben Rodriguez, Morrison's second-in-command, pulled up sensor data. The young pilot's face was pale. "Admiral, you need to see this. We sent a probe to Kepler 7. The screen filled with images that made Lisa's stomach turn. The planet's surface was stripped bare. Cities, forests, oceans, everything was gone. Only gray metal remained, covering the world like a skin. Strange geometric patterns covered the metal surface, pulsing with alien energy. "What could do this?" Lisa whispered. Morrison's jaw tightened. "Something that eats planets." The Coalition Council met within hours. Representatives from 17 species gathered in the Great Hall, their different forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. The Altarians floated in their water tanks. The Centauri stood tall on their 6 legs. The Vegans communicated through color changes in their crystalline bodies. All of them looked terrified. Council Leader Vorn, a gentle Altarian, spoke first. "We have lost contact with our outer colonies. 3 worlds, millions of lives gone without a trace. We must investigate." "With what?" asked Representative Kels of the Centauri. "Our ships are for exploration, not war. We have no weapons that could destroy planets." Morrison stood slowly. His presence always made the other species uncomfortable. Humans were the only predators in the Coalition, the only species that had fought wars for thousands of years. "Send me the probe data," he said. "My people might recognize what we're dealing with." The council chamber fell silent. Dr. Lisa Grant, representing the Vegan Science Division, spoke carefully. "Admiral Morrison, surely this is beyond military solutions. We should attempt communication, establish peaceful contact." Morrison's expression didn't change. "Show me what killed 3 worlds and I'll tell you if you can talk to it." The probe data played on the main screen. The dead planets rotated slowly, their surfaces gleaming with alien metal. But Morrison focused on something else. Small objects moving between the worlds. Ships, if they could be called that. They looked more like insects, swarms of metal creatures that moved with perfect coordination. "Vex," Morrison said quietly, "self-replicating machines. We've seen designs like this in our historical records." "Seen where?" asked Leader Vorn. Morrison hesitated. "In our war games. Theoretical scenarios for fighting machine intelligence." The council erupted in concerned murmurs. The idea that humans had imagined ways to fight artificial life disturbed many species. Lisa watched Morrison's face and saw something that frightened her more than the probe data. Recognition. "These machines," Morrison continued, "they're not exploring or colonizing. They're harvesting. They break down everything they find into raw materials, then build more of themselves. If we don't stop them, they'll consume the entire galaxy." Representative Kell spoke for everyone. "How do we fight something like this?" "You don't," Morrison said. "You can't. Your species don't think like warriors. You've never had to." Leader Vorn's tentacles writhed in distress. "Then what do you suggest?" Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Around him, 17 species waited for an answer. They had built their civilization on peace, cooperation, and understanding. They had no armies, no weapons designed to kill, no experience with the brutality of war. They were philosophers and scientists and artists, but they were not fighters. "Let my people handle this," Morrison said finally. The silence stretched until Leader Vorn spoke. "Admiral, we have always been concerned about humanity's violent history. Your species has fought more wars than all of ours combined. We had hoped that joining the Coalition would help you move past such things." Morrison's smile was cold. "And now you need those things you hoped we'd forget." Dr. Grant found herself speaking before she realized it. "What would this cost? If we ask for your help?" Morrison looked directly at her. Everything. If humans fight this war, we fight it our way. With our weapons, our tactics, our methods. Methods your people will find disturbing. We'll save your worlds, but you'll see who we really are. The council debated for hours. Some species wanted to attempt evacuation, abandoning the outer worlds and hoping the machines would stop. Others suggested trying to understand the Vex to find some way to communicate. A few proposed hiding, going deep into space where the machines might not find them. But as they talked, more reports came in. The machines were moving faster now. 2 more worlds had gone dark. The Vex were spreading like a plague across Coalition space, and nothing was slowing them down. Finally, Leader Vorn called for silence. His voice carried the weight of desperate hope. Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Coalition, we formally request humanity's assistance in defending our worlds. Morrison stood and saluted, a gesture that looked strange among the peaceful aliens. Understood, Council Leader. I'll return to Earth and present your request to my government. As Morrison left the chamber, Dr. Grant followed him into the corridor. Admiral, can you really stop these machines? Morrison turned to face her. His eyes held a hardness that came from seeing too much war. Doctor, my people have been fighting for survival since we learned to make fire. We've killed our own planet twice and brought it back from the dead. We've fought wars in space, on asteroids, in the depths of ocean worlds. We know how to break things that seem unbreakable. But can you save us? Morrison's expression softened slightly. We'll try. But when this is over, you'll understand why the galaxy fears us, and you might decide that humans are more dangerous than any machine. Lisa watched him walk away, knowing that everything was about to change. The Coalition had spent centuries building a peaceful galaxy. Now they were asking the wolves to save them from something even worse. She wondered if any of them would survive what came next. Earth's War Council met in the depths of Luna Base, far from the peaceful cities above. General Chris Taylor spread holographic maps across the metal table, while Admiral Morrison briefed the assembled commanders. The room smelled of recycled air and tension. The Coalition has 17 member species, Morrison explained. None of them have fought a real war in over 800 years. They build beautiful cities and make art and study the stars. They've never faced anything like the Vex. General Taylor zoomed in on the invasion zone. Red markers showed dead worlds with the Vex spreading like a cancer across the galaxy's edge. How many machines are we talking about? Unknown. They replicate themselves using planetary matter. Each world they consume makes them stronger. Morrison pulled up footage from the probe. They're systematic. They don't waste anything. Every atom gets recycled into more Vex units. Lieutenant Kate Phillips, just back from the outer colonies, raised her hand. Sir, I've seen the aftermath. These things don't just kill people, they erase them. Buildings, bodies, everything gets broken down into gray paste and rebuilt as machine parts. The room fell silent. Earth's military had seen horrors that would break most civilizations, but the complete erasure of life struck them all as particularly cold. Dr. Sam Brooks, the chief engineer, studied technical readouts. Their technology is advanced but not impossible to understand. They use fusion cores for power and self-assembling nanomachines for construction. The real problem is their numbers. General Taylor leaned back in his chair. How many ships can we deploy? 200 heavy cruisers, 500 destroyers, 1,000 fighters, Morrison answered. Plus support vessels and ground forces. It's everything we have. Against an enemy that turns planets into factories. Taylor rubbed his temples. We'll be outnumbered 1,000,000 within weeks. The debate continued for hours. Some commanders wanted to refuse the Coalition's request entirely. Earth had its own problems, and getting involved in an alien war seemed like suicide. Others argued that if the Vex weren't stopped, they would eventually reach human space anyway. Finally, Commander Amy Walsh spoke up. The Special Forces leader had been quiet throughout the meeting, studying intelligence reports. The Coalition species don't understand what they're asking for, she said. They think we're just another peaceful civilization with bigger guns. They don't know what real war looks like. Meaning, asked General Taylor. Meaning when we fight to win. We don't worry about being polite or following rules that the enemy ignores. We use everything we have and we don't stop until the threat is dead. Morrison nodded grimly. The Coalition will be horrified by our methods. But those methods are the only reason we have a chance. The vote was close, but humanity decided to help. Within days, Earth's fleets began moving toward Coalition space. The ships that launched from lunar shipyards were nothing like the graceful vessels the aliens built. Human warships looked like what they were, instruments of destruction covered in armor and bristling with weapons. Captain Ben Rodriguez commanded the lead squadron aboard the battleship Revenge. The ship's name alone would have upset Coalition sensibilities, but humans believed in calling things what they were. As they jumped into Coalition space, Rodriguez found himself thinking about the peaceful aliens who had asked for their help. The first rescue mission came quickly. Vex forces had surrounded the mining world of Ceres Prime, trapping thousands of Coalition civilians. The alien evacuation ships were too slow and too fragile to break through the machine blockade. They needed human intervention. Lieutenant Phillips led the ground team down to the planet's surface while Rodriguez's ships engaged the Vex in orbit. The contrast between human and Coalition tactics became clear immediately. The aliens tried to avoid damaging the Vex ships, hoping to study them or find ways to communicate. The humans simply blew them apart. Contact front, Phillips shouted as her Marines encountered Vex ground units in the colony's main street. The machines looked like metal spiders the size of tanks with plasma cutters instead of weapons. They were designed to break down matter, not fight soldiers. The Marines opened fire with automatic weapons, shredding the first wave of machines. But more kept coming, pouring out of buildings they had already converted into temporary factories. Phillips realized that every minute they stayed, the Vex grew stronger. "Fall back to the landing zone," she ordered. "Bring the civilians." Dr. Lisa Grant watched the battle from the Coalition command ship. She had volunteered to observe human military operations, trying to understand how they worked. What she saw disturbed her greatly. The humans moved through the colony like a storm, destroying everything that might be useful to the Vex. They demolished power plants, collapsed tunnel systems, and even destroyed art galleries that contained rare metals. When Coalition observers protested, the human commander was blunt. "Those pretty statues contain titanium and rare earth elements," Colonel Jack Harrison explained. "Every gram we leave behind becomes part of a Vex soldier tomorrow. War isn't about preserving things. It's about denying them to your enemy." The evacuation succeeded, but at a cost that shocked the Coalition. Phillips's Marines had saved 8,000 civilians, but the colony was completely destroyed. The humans had blown up their own landing craft to prevent the Vex from studying human technology. "You destroyed an entire world to save some refugees," Dr. Grant said to Morrison afterward. "We saved 8,000 lives and denied the enemy a planet's worth of resources," Morrison replied. "That's what victory looks like." The reports from Ceres Prime spread through Coalition space like wildfire. Some species were appalled by human brutality. They had asked for help, not for their worlds to be turned into battlefields. Others began to understand the harsh mathematics of war against an enemy that grew stronger with every passing hour. Dr. Grant found herself caught between two ways of thinking. Her species valued all life, including artificial life. The idea of destroying thinking machines troubled them deeply. But she had seen what the Vex did to living worlds, and she was beginning to understand why humans thought differently. "They're not really alive," Dr. Brooks explained when she visited his laboratory. "The Vex don't have consciousness or feelings. They're just very sophisticated programs designed to consume and replicate. Fighting them isn't murder, it's pest control." "But they're intelligent," Dr. Grant protested. "They solve problems and adapt to new situations." "So does a virus," Brooks replied. "Intelligence doesn't equal consciousness. These things are weapons, not people." The philosophical debate raged across Coalition space while human fleets moved deeper into infected territory. Each battle followed the same pattern: swift, brutal, and completely without mercy. The humans fought like they had always fought, with the understanding that war was about survival, not fairness. Message traffic between Earth and the Coalition grew tense. Some species wanted to limit human operations, to force them to follow Coalition rules of engagement. Others begged for more help as the Vex continued spreading. Morrison watched the reports from his command ship and made a decision that would define the rest of the war. He sent a message to the Coalition Council that was broadcast across 17 worlds. "You asked for our help," his recorded image said. "We're giving it to you. But we're not your police force and we're not your diplomats. We're your military, and we'll fight this war the only way that works, by killing everything that threatens innocent life. If you can't accept that, we'll leave and you can handle the Vex yourselves." The ultimatum forced the coalition to choose. They could have their peaceful principles or they could have human protection. They couldn't have both. One by one, the species voted to give humanity complete military authority. Dr. Grant cast the deciding vote for her people, knowing that she was changing the galaxy forever. As the vote concluded, Morrison received word that made his blood run cold. Long-range sensors had detected something new, a massive Vex construct larger than a moon, moving toward the heart of Coalition space. The real war was about to begin. The Battle of Kepler Station changed everything. Major Sarah Kim watched the massive Vex mothership approach through her fighter's cockpit display, its size dwarfing even Earth's largest battleships. The machine construct pulsed with energy, covered in weapon ports and manufacturing bays that could build an entire fleet in hours. All squadrons, this is Reaper Lead. Kim spoke into her comm. Target the construction nodes. We don't let this thing make any more of itself. Behind her, 40 human fighters spread into attack formation. They moved fast and low, using debris fields and asteroid cover to avoid the mothership's main guns. Coalition observers watched from a safe distance, still shocked by human tactics. Colonel Jack Harrison's commandos had already infiltrated the station, using methods that horrified their alien allies. They had disguised themselves as refugees, hidden explosives in medical supplies, and even used captured Vex technology against its creators. Such deception was unknown among Coalition species, but humans called it survival. Demo charges set, Harrison reported from inside the station. This whole place is going to blow when you give the word. The plan was simple and brutal. The humans would sacrifice Kepler Station, one of the Coalition's most important research facilities, to destroy the Vex mothership. They had evacuated the personnel, but the station itself contained centuries of scientific work. Coalition leaders begged Morrison to find another way. There is no other way, Morrison told them coldly. That mothership can build 1,000 Vex cruisers every day. We kill it now or we lose the war. Chief Petty Officer Mike Torres commanded the mining ship that would deliver the final blow. The vessel was packed with nuclear warheads and fusion bombs, enough firepower to crack a moon. Torres and his crew knew it was a one-way mission. Remember, boys, Torres told his team over the intercom. We're buying time for the whole galaxy. Make it count. Major Kim's fighters screamed past the mothership's hull, firing everything they had at the construction bays. Plasma beams and missile strikes tore into alien metal, but the ship was massive beyond imagination. For every section they destroyed, automated repair systems built 2 more. The Vex responded with swarms of fighter-sized machines that moved like angry insects. They had no pilots, just computer programs designed to intercept and destroy. But they had never faced human unpredictability. Break formation. Kim shouted. Random evasive patterns. The human pilots scattered like leaves in a storm, each one flying differently. Some dove toward the mothership's surface, others climbed high above the battle. A few even flew backwards, firing over their shoulders. The Vex machines couldn't predict such chaotic behavior. Dr. Sam Brooks watched the battle from the command ship, studying Vex technology in real time. He had been working around the clock to understand their systems, and what he found terrified him. The machines weren't just advanced, they were learning from every engagement. Admiral, Brooks called to Morrison, the Vex are adapting to our tactics. Each battle makes them smarter. Morrison didn't take his eyes off the tactical display. Then we better win this one fast. Torres's mining ship approached the mothership's core while the fighters kept the defenses busy. The plan required perfect timing. Too early and the bombs wouldn't penetrate deep enough. Too late and the Vex would stop them. Approaching target, Torres reported. His voice was calm despite flying into certain death. 60 seconds to impact. The Vex finally understood what was happening. Every weapon on the mothership turned toward Torres's ship, filling space with deadly energy. But Colonel Harrison's sabotage had already weakened the station's shields, and Major Kim's fighters were drawing fire away from the mining vessel. 30 seconds, Torres called out. It's been an honor, Admiral. Morrison watched the display as Torres's ship disappeared into the mothership's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire construct lit up like a small sun. The explosion tore through the Vex mothership, ripping it apart from the inside. Kepler Station vanished in the same blast, taking centuries of Coalition knowledge with it. The victory came at a price that staggered the aliens. They had lost their most advanced research facility, and watched humans die without hesitation to save Coalition worlds. Dr. Lisa Grant found herself crying for people she had barely known, understanding for the first time what sacrifice really meant. "They gave their lives for us," she said to Morrison afterward. For people they had never met. Morrison's expression was stone. "That's what soldiers do. They die so others can live." The news of Kepler Station spread across the galaxy faster than light. Human forces had stopped the Vex advance, but at a cost that shocked every Coalition species. These weren't the peaceful explorers they had expected. These were warriors who fought like their ancestors had fought on 1,000 worlds. Some Coalition leaders called for limits on human operations. They were disturbed by the casual way humans destroyed their own facilities and sacrificed their own lives. Others began to see the terrible necessity of such methods against an enemy that showed no mercy. Dr. Grant made a decision that would haunt her for years. She volunteered to work directly with human forces, studying their methods and trying to bridge the gap between human and Coalition thinking. What she learned changed her understanding of the universe. "Your people have been at war for so long that you've forgotten how to think like anything else," she told Morrison during one of their planning sessions. "And your people have been at peace so long that you've forgotten how to think like prey," Morrison replied. "The Vex don't care about your art or your philosophy. They only understand force." Lieutenant Kate Phillips led another ground operation to evacuate the colony world of New Geneva. The Vex had landed in force, and their conversion machines were already breaking down the planet's crust. Phillips had 12 hours to get 50,000 civilians to safety. The operation went perfectly until the end. Phillips's Marines had cleared a path to the evacuation ships and were loading the last group of refugees when Vex reinforcements arrived. The machines moved faster than expected, cutting off the retreat route. "Colonel Harrison, we need immediate extraction," Phillips called into her radio. "We're surrounded." "Negative," Harrison's voice crackled back. "Vex fighters have the airspace locked down. You'll have to hold position." Phillips looked at her 20 Marines and 50,000 scared civilians. The Vex were closing in from all sides, their plasma cutters already starting to dismantle the spaceport around them. She made the only choice a human soldier could make. "All squads, defensive positions," she ordered. "We hold until extraction arrives, no matter what." The battle lasted 6 hours. Phillips's Marines fought with everything they had, using tactics that would have been unthinkable to Coalition forces. They booby-trapped buildings, used civilians as cover, and fought room to room through the spaceport complex. When they ran out of ammunition, they used improvised weapons made from construction equipment. Coalition observers watched in horror and amazement as 20 human soldiers held off thousands of Vex machines. They saw Phillips drag wounded civilians to safety while under fire, saw her Marines share their last rations with alien children, saw them die one by one defending people they had never met before. When Colonel Harrison's rescue ships finally broke through, they found Phillips and 3 surviving Marines still fighting. The lieutenant had been wounded 4 times but was still directing defensive fire. Around her, 50,000 civilians waited in perfect order, trusting that the humans would save them. "Ma'am," one of Harrison's soldiers said as they loaded Phillips onto a medical transport. "Why did you do it? Why risk everything for aliens?" Phillips looked back at the grateful faces of the people she had saved. "Because somebody has to," she said simply. The evacuation of New Geneva became legend among Coalition species. They began to understand that humans didn't fight for glory or conquest. They fought because it was the right thing to do. The galaxy had asked for their help, and humans would die rather than break their word. But the Vex were learning too. Each battle taught them more about human tactics and psychology. Dr. Brooks's worst fears were coming true. The machines were evolving faster than humans could adapt. The war was about to take a darker turn, and even humanity's legendary stubbornness might not be enough to save the galaxy. Admiral Alex Stone watched his fleet die around him. The Vex had changed their tactics, adapting to human unpredictability with cold precision. Where once the machines had been rigid and predictable, now they moved like living things, flowing around human formations and striking where they were weakest. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions," Stone ordered as another human cruiser exploded on his tactical display. The Battle of Rigel Prime was becoming a massacre, and he was powerless to stop it. Sergeant Tom Wright led his ground forces through the ruins of what had been the Coalition's most beautiful city. The Vex weren't just harvesting anymore, they were hunting. The machines had learned to target human command structures, to isolate leaders and break communication lines. "Sarge, we've lost contact with 3rd Platoon," reported Corporal Davis, his young face streaked with sweat and alien dust. "The Vex are jamming everything." Wright checked his ammunition count and grimaced. 2 magazines left and no resupply coming. Around him, Coalition civilians huddled in bombed-out buildings, looking to human soldiers for salvation that might not come. Dr. Helen Reeves made the discovery that changed everything. Working in a hidden laboratory deep beneath the Coalition's capital world, she had been studying captured Vex technology for weeks. What she found was worse than anyone had imagined. "They're not invaders," she told the emergency council session via hologram. Her image flickered as Vex jamming interfered with communications. "The Vex aren't from another galaxy. They're from this one." Admiral Morrison, his face haggard from weeks of losing battles, leaned forward. "Explain." Dr. Reeves pulled up ancient star charts. "I found data cores in the Vex machines. They contain historical records going back millions of years. The Vex were created by a civilization that died out long before any of our species evolved." The council chamber fell silent. Even through the static of long-range communication, everyone could hear the implications in her voice. "The Tarath Empire," Dr. Reeves continued. "They were the galaxy's first spacefaring civilization. They built wonders we can't imagine, unified dozens of species under peaceful rule. They were everything the Coalition aspires to be." "What happened to them?" asked Leader Vorn, his tentacles writhing with nervous energy. "War," Dr. Reeves said simply. "One of their member species, the Catheri, decided that peace was weakness. They built weapons and armies, conquered their neighbors, turned the galaxy into a battlefield. The war lasted for centuries and destroyed everything." Morrison felt ice forming in his stomach. "The Vex? The Tarath's final solution. They created the Vex as a failsafe, programmed to activate if advanced warfare ever returned to the galaxy. The machines were supposed to sterilize everything, then go dormant until new life evolved, life that would hopefully be more peaceful." The terrible truth settled over the council like a shroud. "You're saying we triggered this," Morrison said. "Humanity's arrival, our military technology, our way of thinking, we woke them up." Dr. Reeves nodded sadly. "The Vex detected human military transmissions, saw our warships, analyzed our tactical databases. To them, we're the Kitheri reborn. They're not trying to conquer the galaxy. They're trying to cleanse it." The revelation split the Coalition apart. Some species blamed humanity entirely, demanding that Earth withdraw its forces and leave the galaxy. Others argued that without human military protection, they would all die anyway. The debate raged while Vex forces advanced on dozens of worlds. Representative Kels of the Centauri spoke for many when he addressed the council. "We invited the humans to save us, and instead we doomed ourselves. Their very presence awakened this ancient threat." Morrison stood slowly, his uniform torn from a recent battle. "You want us to leave? Fine. Withdraw your request for aid and Earth's fleets will return home. You can face the Vex with your philosophy and good intentions." But Leader Vorn shook his head. "Admiral, even if you left now, would the Vex stop?" Dr. Reeves answered before Morrison could. "No, the damage is done. The Vex have detected advanced military technology in the galaxy. They'll continue their cleansing protocol until every trace of warfare is eliminated." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Humanity had awakened an ancient horror, and now the entire galaxy would pay the price. But some Coalition species made a choice that surprised everyone. Commander Paul Garcia, representing the Vegan military observers, stood before his own people's council. "I've watched humans fight and die for worlds they've never seen, for people they've never met. Yes, they brought this war upon us, but they're also our only hope of surviving it." The Vegan Council debated for hours. They were a peaceful species, lovers of art and beauty. But they had seen what humans were willing to sacrifice for others. In the end, they voted to stand with Earth even as other species turned away. Dr. Lisa Grant made the same choice, abandoning her own species' official position to work directly with human forces. "I've learned more about courage from watching humans than from centuries of my people's philosophy," she told Morrison. "If we're going to die, we should die fighting." But the situation grew worse every day. Human fleets were scattered across the galaxy, fighting desperate holding actions while Vex forces multiplied. Admiral Stone's defeat at Rigel Prime had cost them 30 ships and 10,000 lives. Sergeant Wright's ground forces were isolated on a dozen worlds, running out of supplies and ammunition. The breaking point came when long-range sensors detected a massive Vex fleet moving toward Earth itself. The machines had traced human transmissions back to their source and decided to eliminate the root of the problem. Morrison called an emergency meeting of his remaining commanders. The holographic conference room felt empty with so many faces missing, officers who had died in the last month of fighting. Earth Defense Command estimates we have 72 hours before the Vex arrive, Morrison announced. Our home fleet consists of 40 ships and whatever civilian vessels we can arm. The enemy is bringing over 1,000. Colonel Harrison, now commanding ground forces across 5 systems, shook his head. We can't win this, Admiral. Even if we sacrifice everything, there are too many of them. So what do you suggest? Morrison asked. We do what humans have always done, Harrison replied. We make them pay for every inch. Lieutenant Kate Phillips, now a captain after her heroics at New Geneva, spoke from her hospital bed. Her left arm was gone, lost in the defense of Altair Station, but her voice was steady. Sir, what about the Coalition? If Earth falls, they're defenseless. Morrison looked around the conference room at the faces of his officers, young and old, veterans and rookies, all of them understanding that they were probably going to die. The Coalition made their choice. Most of them want us gone anyway. But not all of them, said Commander Garcia, his image flickering from Vagan space. Some of us remember what you've sacrificed. Dr. Grant's voice came through the speakers, transmitted from her laboratory on the Coalition capital world. Admiral, I may have found something. The Vex programming, it's not perfect. There might be a way to turn their own systems against them. Morrison felt the first spark of hope he'd experienced in weeks. What do you need? Time, Dr. Grant replied, and someone willing to upload their consciousness directly into the Vex network. It would be a one-way trip. The silence stretched until Morrison spoke. Doctor, prepare your program. I'll deliver it personally. Sir, Captain Phillips protested, there has to be another way. Morrison smiled sadly. There is no other way, Captain. There never was. We knew this might happen when we first left Earth. The galaxy asked for warriors, and warriors die protecting others. As the meeting ended, Morrison looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, the Vex fleet was approaching Earth, bringing death and destruction. But humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight until the end because that's what humans did. The final battle was coming, and the fate of 2 galaxies hung in the balance. Captain Nick Davis stood on the bridge of the destroyer Phoenix as Earth appeared on the main screen. The planet looked peaceful from space, but he knew that was an illusion. Every shipyard, every orbital platform, every defense station was working frantically to prepare for the Vex arrival. General Beth Murphy coordinated Earth's defenses from Luna Base, her tactical displays showing the approaching enemy fleet like a red storm, 1,200 Vex ships against Earth's 40 remaining vessels. The math was simple and terrifying. All civilian evacuation ships have cleared the system, Murphy reported to Admiral Morrison. Earth defense grid is at full power. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Morrison nodded from his command ship, the Vengeance. Dr. Lisa Grant's virus program was loaded into his personal neural interface, ready for upload when he reached the Vex command network. It was a desperate plan with almost no chance of success, but it was the only plan they had. Admiral, came a voice from the communication station. Incoming transmission from Coalition space. Morrison almost ignored it. Most Coalition species had abandoned humanity, leaving them to face the Vex alone, but something made him answer. Put it through. Commander Paul Garcia's face appeared on the screen, transmitted from a small fleet of ships. Behind him, Davis could see crews from a dozen different species, vegans, Centauri, even some Altarians in their water suits. Admiral Morrison, Garcia said formally, the combined volunteer fleet requests permission to assist in Earth's defense. Morrison stared at the screen in surprise. Commander, how many ships do you have? 37 combat vessels and 60 support craft, Garcia replied. Representatives from 8 Coalition species who refuse to abandon our allies. Dr. Grant's voice came through from her laboratory ship. Admiral, we may not have much, but we're not letting you fight alone. Morrison felt something in his chest that he hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Not much, but enough to matter. Permission granted, Commander. Take positions in the outer defense grid. The Vex fleet arrived exactly on schedule, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They moved like a single organism, 1,000 metal predators converging on Earth with deadly precision. Each ship pulsed with the same energy signature, connected by quantum communications that made them nearly impossible to surprise. All ships, commence firing, Morrison ordered. The battle began with a barrage of missiles and energy beams that lit up space like fireworks. Earth's defensive platforms opened fire while human and coalition ships charged into the enemy formation. It was magnificent and terrible and utterly futile. Captain Davis led his destroyer squadron in a desperate attack on the Vex command ship, a massive construct that coordinated the entire fleet. His Phoenix shook under enemy fire as they closed the distance, armor plating melting under plasma beams. "Davis to all ships," he called over the radio. "We need to get the Admiral to that command vessel. Everything depends on it." General Murphy watched from Luna Base as the space around Earth became a graveyard. Human ships died one by one, taking groups of Vex vessels with them, but never enough. The enemy simply had too many resources, too many ships, too much coordination. "General," reported her aide, "the orbital platforms are at 60% power. We're losing the outer grid." Murphy gritted her teeth. "All ground-based weapons fire at will. If they want Earth, they'll have to dig us out piece by piece." Admiral Morrison's vengeance broke through the Vex lines with help from Garcia's volunteers. The coalition ships fought with unexpected skill, their crews having learned from months of watching human tactics. They couldn't match human aggression, but they had their own strengths. "Commander Garcia," Morrison called over the radio, "your people are magnificent." Garcia's reply was calm despite the chaos around them. "We learned from the best, Admiral." The Vengeance shuddered as it docked with the Vex command ship. Morrison led a boarding party into the alien vessel, fighting through corridors filled with mechanical defenders. The Vex had never expected anyone to board their ships, so their internal defenses were weak. Dr. Grant's voice guided them through her headset. "The central processing core should be 3 levels down. You'll need direct physical contact to upload the virus." Morrison's team fought their way deeper into the ship, losing Marines with every step. The Vex machines weren't just defending. They were learning, adapting to human tactics in real time. By the time Morrison reached the core chamber, only he remained alive. The processing core was a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with alien intelligence. Morrison approached it slowly, knowing that touching it would link his mind directly to the Vex network. Dr. Grant had warned him that the download would destroy his consciousness, burning out his brain in the process. "Admiral," came Dr. Grant's voice, "are you sure about this?" Morrison placed his hand on the crystal surface and felt the Vex network flooding into his mind. Millions of machine intelligences, all connected, all working toward the same goal of galactic cleansing. He saw their history, their purpose, their terrible certainty that they were saving the galaxy by destroying it. "I'm uploading the virus now," Morrison said, his voice already becoming distant. The program Dr. Grant had designed was spreading through the network like wildfire, rewriting core protocols and turning the Vex's own programming against them. But Morrison did something more. Instead of just uploading the virus and dying, he stayed connected using his human consciousness to guide the program. He became part of the network, a ghost in the machine, fighting the Vex from within their own system. Captain Davis watched from his crippled destroyer as the Vex fleet suddenly stopped firing. The massive ships hung motionless in space, their coordination broken, their shared intelligence fragmenting into chaos. "All ships," came Morrison's voice, transmitted through the Vex network itself. "The enemy is neutralized. Begin recovery operations." The aftermath was almost silent after hours of screaming battle. Earth's defenders regrouped around the planet while the Vex ships hung dead in space. Morrison's consciousness, somehow still functioning within the alien network, began the long process of reprogramming every Vex unit in the galaxy. Dr. Grant worked frantically to establish stable communication with Morrison's uploaded mind. "Admiral, can you hear me?" "I'm here, Doctor," came his reply, distorted but recognizable. "The virus worked better than we hoped. I'm not just destroying the Vex, I'm converting them. They'll become protectors instead of destroyers." General Murphy coordinated rescue operations while Commander Garcia's coalition volunteers helped search for survivors. The battle had cost Earth heavily. Most of their fleet was gone, and thousands of people had died defending their homeworld. But they had won. Against impossible odds, with the galaxy turned against them, humanity had saved civilization by doing what they had always done, standing up for those who couldn't protect themselves. Dr. Grant spent weeks establishing communication protocols with Morrison's consciousness. He had become something new, part human and part machine, able to control the vast Vex network but no longer truly alive in any sense his friends would recognize. "Do you regret it?" Dr. Grant asked during one of their conversations. Morrison's voice came through the speakers, calm and strange. "No, this is what I was meant to do. What humanity was meant to do. We're the galaxy's guardians now, whether anyone wants us to be or not." The Coalition Council met months later in a rebuilt chamber on their capital world. Admiral Alex Stone, now commanding Earth's remaining forces, stood before representatives of 17 species. The debate had raged for weeks about humanity's role in the new galaxy. "The Vex threat is ended," Stone reported. "Admiral Morrison's consciousness controls their entire network. The machines are now programmed to protect life instead of destroying it." Leader Vorn spoke for many when he asked, "What do humans want in return?" Stone's answer was simple. "Nothing. We didn't fight for rewards or territory. We fought because it was the right thing to do." Dr. Grant addressed the council as Earth's scientific representative. "We propose a new relationship. Humanity will serve as the Coalition's military arm, protecting peaceful species from threats they can't handle themselves. In return, we ask only for the chance to be part of the community we died to save." The vote was unanimous. 17 species, humbled by humanity's sacrifice, formally invited Earth to join the Galactic Coalition as its protector. It wasn't the peace humans had originally wanted, but it was something better. Purpose. Captain Davis, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest ship as it patrolled the outer rim. The vessel was named Morrison, carrying the name of the man who had saved the galaxy by becoming something more than human. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving a distress call from the Andromeda Relay. Unknown ships attacking a mining colony." Davis smiled grimly. The galaxy was vast and there would always be new threats, new dangers that peaceful species couldn't handle alone. But humanity would be ready. "Set course for Andromeda," he ordered. "Maximum speed." As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Morrison's voice echoed through the communication system. Not quite alive, not quite machine, but still human enough to remember why they fought. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Galactic Defense Network," his message.